He came from a... Anyway, let's leave that.
Okay, so let's get to some of the issues, and I want to ask some direct questions, Prof. One of my first direct question is, what is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu doing wrong? And where do you see that wrong action taking us to?
See, again, you come to an area that I don't want to personalize things. Let's take policy, specific policies, and look at how they have been implemented, how they have not worked. And I can speak to how that is not going the way. And in my statement, I dealt with a number of them. Look, let's take the issue of pain. The people are feeling pain. In our country, people are really dying, suffering. There's hunger in the land. The way government carries on, you will not believe that is the case. And I use examples. When the government bought a befitting presidential jet, we had a lovely 737 presidential jet, but we bought a more befitting one at a time when most of our citizens could not eke out a bare human type survival. In our history, you can go back to 1976. As a young youth copper back then, we gave General Obasanjo hell for small things. But look at the kinds of things that he did. When oil prices dropped a few notches, he said that we could not afford to live the way we were living, that we had to cut our coat according to our cloth, not according to our size. He came down to a Peugeot 404 as the official state car. We know of a president in this world who drives around himself in his Volkswagen Beetle in Latin America. What is wrong with going even in your SUV? Why spend the kind of money we spend buying this beast, or whatever they call that monster that is now a new presidential car? Not talk of new jets. You can't be doing things like that and ask people to sacrifice. No, you lead by example. But it seems like the Nigerian political class thinks that it should be given everything to live luxuriantly at the expense of a dying people. That is not acceptable to me as a citizen. And I think that we must reverse those kinds of ways of thinking about public life.
Prof, we got here because of two policies. Removing subsidy from PMS, removing subsidy from FX in that sense, and now for Band A people, that subsidy is also gone in that sense. What could he have done differently? I mean, as a policy direction, because the argument they also have is to the effect that all the frontliners had made similar promises.
Yeah, which is one of the big lies about that. And I want to give a clear example. You see, petroleum subsidy was a source of big abuse. Now people go back to say, you see, you fought it under Jonathan. When the thing was fought under Jonathan, the point I personally made in 1911 or 12, when the demonstrations were taking place, is it is not about removing subsidy. It is the corruption that is called subsidy. Part of the reason they were doing it around that time is elections were approaching. They wanted the so-called marketing companies to take the advantage of this so-called subsidy thing to fund the PDP. You can play games, whatever you like or not. It's the corruption that I've always criticized. Subsidy is 70% corruption. If you really are serious, okay, this government is unfolding all kinds of things in NNPC. Haven't I been shouting about this for forever? I, on this channel, said a couple of months ago that NNPC was the most opaque organization in the world. Now, if we just seriously went and said, first thing, let's deal with the scam in this so-called subsidy, we would have removed 60% of what we call subsidy. Then we say, okay, having removed that, we don't want subsidy. What is left? How can we sequence the implementation that it does not trigger the kind of inflation that it did trigger? Yes, it will cause some inflation, but how can we manage it? So sequencing is a very critical part. Look, I was very involved in policy when we went through the structural adjustment program, and we talked about the J curve and all those lags. This will now kick in. And all that turned out to be a significant lie. It didn't kick in because there were many aspects of the process. And this is the new book I'm writing now, Why Some Nations Are Still Poor. Now, one of the most important things to put into the equation of an adjustment program of that nature is how to create markets. Clayton Christensen, with one of his former Nigerian students, Ojomo, and another of his students, wrote a book, The Prosperity Paradox. We have to focus on how do we create markets and how do we build entrepreneurs. It is those people who then fill in this pipeline. It is nothing automatic at all about, you remove subsidy, this, and then the economy will be good. It's a lie. You create entrepreneurship, generate production, and with the production, as the pain is being felt, jobs being created, the exports that are taking place, providing foreign exchange, and you have a more balanced thing, and you grow your way out of that challenge. But not to have a strategy that includes all of this. It's a waste of time.
All right, Prof. One of the counter-arguments they always have at the macroeconomic level, they say when you look at the macroeconomics dashboard, it looks better than the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. So they pick up things like increase in FX reserve. They talk about, of course, we've cleared this IMF, although I think the charges are still there, but they've talked about this IMF we didn't default. They've also talked about the issue of using some of these funds for NEL fund. They also talk about record high revenue for subnationals through FAC. And a couple of other things they reel out as some of the gains in that sense of the removal of some of these subsidies. But it's going to take a bit of time, just like you said, for it to come to fruition. And so Nigerians should just calm down in that sense. Does that argument make sense to you?
And I am telling you that that's the same argument all of us made in 1986, and it didn't happen. Because the lag, so-called J curve, doesn't just turn. We found that it didn't turn. And this is why I'm writing this book now, to show that it doesn't turn. Because we've not created entrepreneurship. We've not created markets. We have not raised production. As far as I know, Nigeria is not producing even to deal with the situation with food insecurity. Because there is insecurity in the land, the farmers are not going to the farms. Even many farmers have forgotten how to farm because insecurity has kept them away already for 7-8 years from farming, so they don't even know how to farm anymore. So a massive program that begins to re-teach farming, provides incentives, provides security for these people to now grow, and systematically says, okay, look, there's hunger in the land. There's certain things if we focus on, it will take 5 years. But there are food crops that grow in 3 months. So let's take these legumes and massively support people, military protection, bang, in 3 months, food plenty. While they are eating, you are dealing with the other kinds of produce that we need to deal with. But I don't see any of that. You are not going to get anywhere unless there's enough entrepreneurship, unless there's enough markets being created. And they should know. They should go and talk to Jomo and the Prosperity Paradox people.
All right, Prof.